Okay, we'll call our meeting to order. Thank you, and good morning, and welcome. Before I have Jane call the roll, I want to give you an update on Steve Colson from yesterday. He's doing great. He's fine. It was some levels off. David Ward told me that when he went down, he kind of woke up and thought he was dreaming, and he was in a Regents meeting, so he decided to stay asleep. But he's doing fine, and he's home. So. Jane, would you call the roll, please?
Regent Bailing? Present. Regent Bradley? Regent Delgado? Regent Evers?
Here.
Regent Salvo?
Here.
Regent Farrell?
Here.
Regent Hall?
Here.
Regent Harsey?
Here.
Regent Higgins?
Here.
Regent Menedee?
Here.
Regent Milner?
Here.
Regent Mueller? Regent Peterson?
Here.
Regent Pruitt?
Here.
Regent Purath?
Here.
Regent Vasquez?
Here.
Regent Walsh? Regent Whitburn?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The minutes of the December 5th, 2014 Board of Regents meetings have been provided. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The reports of the Hospital Authority Board and Wisconsin Technical College System Board have been provided. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Before we get started, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our host, Chancellor Blank. Oh, there. Well, I think we'd all agree that it's been very informative, enlightening. The next word says enjoyable. And I'm sure we're going to hear from you again soon. You'll notice some movement in our gallery later this morning. We're expecting the arrival of the recipients of our Regents Diversity Awards. We'll hear much more about them later, as well as their family, friends, and colleagues. Now, on the budget front, I appreciate the conversation we had yesterday and anticipate other productive conversations at our March meeting when we're able to provide you much more information. We are obviously expecting significant changes to our system. We hope to know more by March about the potential effect on our proposed cuts on our campuses. We also have an update on our search to identify a successor to UW-Whitewater Chancellor Dick Telfer. Now, you may think that that's an impossible task, and it is. Dick is retiring at the end of this academic year. In mid-December, President Cross named the Search and Screen Committee, which is chaired by Dr. Paul Ambrose, an associate professor and chair of the IT and Supply Chain Management Department. Regent Margaret Farrell chairs the Special Regent Committee for that search. Our goal is to name a new chancellor by the end of May. This is a little ways off, but I'd like to remind Regents that UW System posters in the Rotunda event, a celebration of undergraduate research, is coming up on Wednesday, April 22nd in the state capitol. Consider this a save-the-date notice. This event is now in its 12th year, and it's a wonderful showcase of many and varied research endeavors taken on by our student researchers and their faculty advisors across the UW system. It's also a popular opportunity to join other UW representatives in making legislative visits. So I encourage you to mark this event on your calendars and look forward to seeing you there. With that, I will turn things over to President Cross.
Thank you, Regent President Felbo. It was 1 year ago, next week, that I became president of the UW system. Still laughing. And just like that, we've had a lot of surprises. Well, I think the old Chinese wish that we live in interesting times probably applies. But I remember sitting right over there when I was introduced by this gentleman and thinking, this is exciting, but more importantly, I was thinking, wow, this is a humbling experience for a farm boy from Michigan, and I still feel that way. It is an honor and a privilege to serve you, the board, the students, the faculty, the staff, and to be a part of this great institution. It really is. A year ago, I told you that I was energized by the passion, curiosity, and commitment to the pursuit of knowledge that I see and hear every day in the students who call our campuses their home, and in all those who work to make the University of Wisconsin a special place. Well, my opinion hasn't changed. If anything, my conviction that the system is and must remain among the best in the world is only strengthened. My resolve is even more firm. I've made a commitment right from the very start that going forward this university will be more closely aligned with the needs and interests of the state and its people. I pledge to be an engaged listener, and I've had the pleasure and privilege to exchange thoughts and ideas with students, families, alumni, community leaders, business people, legislators, and so many others who care deeply about this university and its future. I visited many of our campuses around the state and have others on my to-do list. In the past month, I met with the Madison Rotary Club, the African American Chamber of Commerce in Milwaukee. Thanks, Steve. Leaders in the business community like David Stark of Stark Homes, Zolve, Kurt Bauer of WMC, and others. And these visits with business leaders will continue into the future. Excuse me. We also continue to engage in discussions with legislators and other stakeholders on an almost daily, if not hourly basis. As you have heard yesterday, this dialogue will be going on at both the system and campus level in the weeks ahead. Well, now for some news around the system. I want to take a brief moment to talk about some of the things, all the good things that are happening around the system. UW-La Crosse has once again been named in the top 100 best value colleges by Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine. The ranking doesn't just recognize low cost, but also signifies quality education at an affordable price. UWL has earned this distinction for over a decade. UW-Madison was another public institution in Wisconsin to be in this year's ranking. With the help of $400,000 DPI grant, UW Parkside is launching the Enhancing Teaching of Middle School Mathematics project, which seeks to increase teachers' depth of mathematical knowledge and enhance teaching techniques to improve student achievement. This project could have a significant impact on UW's system's goal to reduce the need for remedial math. A new National Endowment for the Arts grant will help UW-Stevens Point continue to expand young minds through its Young Composers Project. The 5-year-old program brings 4th and 5th graders to campus, pairs them with most music students and faculty, and gives them a chance to be their own maestros, composing their own music. The Young Composers Project was the only arts education NEA awarded in Wisconsin this year. UW Whitewater Warhawks football team capped an undefeated regular season by winning its 6th national title in 8 years by beating Mount Union 43-34. UW Whitewater football has now won 32 games in a row, the longest winning streak in college football in any division. And what a fitting way to send off departing head coach Lance Leopold, who ends his time at Whitewater with an astounding record of 109 wins and 6 losses. Congratulations. UW River Falls was the first UW system campus to join the national I'm First initiative. This initiative is aimed at making the college path a little easier for first-generation students. I'm First provides an online community for aspiring college students to find advice on accessing higher education, as well as a place for campus advisors to share best practices on helping students. UW-Superior has been named among the best in the country in online education, according to U.S. News and World Report. UW-Superior has been a leader in distance education for 37 years and launched its online program in 1999. So it's no surprise they were ranked 27th in the entire country in online education. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank James Steinbach for his dedication and service with Wisconsin Public Television. James, who has served as Director of Television since 2006, recently announced that he is retiring in July. As noted by Malcolm Brett, Director of Broadcasting and Media Innovations with the University of Wisconsin Extension, James led WPT through the important digital TV transition, taking what was a difficult and confusing process for many of the state's television viewers and leveraging the power of public broadcasting to expand program offerings and to make them accessible through hands-on service and education. James understands the value of educational public television and the vital role it plays in Wisconsin. He's been involved in public television for more than 40 years, and he has left his mark. Thank you, James. Best wishes to you. UW-Stout is launching a new effort at improving early education in its hometown of Menominee. The Arts Integration Menominee Project, or AIM, will provide training and a support network for young and aspiring teachers to integrate the arts into their curriculum and increase student engagement. A new UW-Platteville scholarship will open doors to underrepresented students seeking a career in the STEM fields. The Lois Cooper Scholarship Program, named for the first African-American woman in California to pass the Professional Engineer's License exam, provides scholarship funding as well as faculty, staff, and peer mentoring in the STEM fields. Here at UW-Madison, the College of Letters and Science has launched a new initiative to prepare liberal arts students for careers in today's rapidly changing economy. The Letters and Science Career Initiative is funded with seed money and guidance from L&S alumni and will add a career development course and connect students to alumni to help them build successful careers. UW-Milwaukee students will be the beneficiaries of a $300,000 gift from State Representative Fred Kessler and his wife, Judge Joan Kessler. The Kessler Student Leadership Scholarship Fund will support incoming UW-M freshmen from Milwaukee Public Schools who demonstrate significant leadership during high school. UW-Green Bay has added its second endowed faculty chair position with Professor David Radosovich being installed as the inaugural Austin E. Kofrin Chair of Business. The Kofrin family has been a long-time supporter of the university, and we are grateful for their continued generosity in making this possible. The UW College's online program continues to see growth with a 20% increase in this spring's enrollment over last year. This clearly demonstrates the high demand for flexible online degree programs from both traditional students and place-bound working adults. Today we're going to start a new effort to complement our Student Spotlight. Over the past year, we have included a Student Spotlight as part of my regular report to the board, providing you with an opportunity to see and hear more from our wonderful students. Several months ago, I decided to add a faculty spotlight. Even before the discussions of faculty workload in the budget process began, I'd come to realize that we needed to do a better job of helping the public understand what a faculty member really does, what their workload includes, what their days look like. We haven't always done a very good job of that. I'm very proud of the work that our faculty do both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Faculty have responsibilities for teaching, advising, administrative responsibilities, research, and many, many other areas. So today, I'm pleased to present our first Faculty Spotlight with a video showcasing a professor from the College of Nursing and Health Sciences at UW-Eau Claire, Dr. Cheryl Brandt. Accompanying her today is Dean Linda Young of the College of Nursing and Health Sciences at Eau Claire. As you know, nursing is certainly a high-demand field, and our nursing educators have responsibilities both in the classroom and one-on-one with students in their clinical settings. My hope is that these spotlights will help provide a better understanding of what our faculty do and how they support student success. Let's watch.
My name is Cheryl Brandt, and I'm a research educator. I'm a professor in the College of Health Sciences and UW. I have to answer not just one question, I have to ask two. Nursing, education, because I'm a nursing educator. And the skills that you have as a nurse are not the same as the skills that you have as an educator.
I was delighted when I asked Cheryl if she would be willing to be a nurse educator to be known for this documentary.
The knowledge of my discipline in nursing changes over at an incredibly fast pace. And the skills and strategies in the education field are also changing at a fast pace. And so I'm taking continuing education courses as a nurse, but I'm doing continuing education professional development as an educator to make sure that I know what are the tools and strategies that I can pull into the classroom or pull into the clinical setting that reflect best practice, current best practice.
I think what you're going to see will find to be exceptional, but I need to tell you, it is not the exception. It is the norm for our student.
So this semester, I have had teaching assignments in 6 courses. 4 of them are undergraduate and 2 of them are graduate.
For each one credit that a student has for theory, that's about equivalent to 1 hour of class time. In comparison to clinical, it's a 1 to 3 ratio. So we have 1 credit, but it's 3 hours of clinical. So if a faculty member has a 3 credit clinical that they're teaching, we're talking about 136 hours in the course of the semester that they're actually doing clinical time.
I share lecture responsibilities in a 3-credit graduate course. I represent the health systems on some committees at the Mayville enterprise level. And then I have a couple hours of research team meeting with my faculty colleagues and our undergraduate research assistant. In the afternoon, I have attended university level education committee meetings because I'm the college rep to the university committee. And then along about 3:30, I'm getting in my car and going over to the mail because I have to read patient records and identify the patients that my students are going to be taking care of for Tuesday morning. On Tuesday morning, I get up early because that's my clinical morning with my second semester junior students. And so I leave the house a little before 5 o'clock. I head to mail, and I'm heading to a medical surgical unit there, where I am with my 8 or 9 students. I've sent them their assignments the evening before, and I have updated information on the patients that I've shared with the students and kind of review and point out, okay, this is something that I have to do. So when I get here, it's about 5:45, and I meet Cheryl, who's a nursing patient, and then she has the assessment, so she just kind of like a breakdown of all the patients, what's going on, and then Earl just got me getting the orders and everything that we need to be clear, and then I'm out the door. Are just on the floor and counting the payments so to see moving from student to student, patient to patient at a metaphorical clinical instruction, which is at the metaphorical air traffic controller. And I have 8, 9 student patient diads, and they all have to be kept in the air, and nobody crashes, nobody learns. There are medications and I asked her, and then she kind of watched over me and swearing over all the things that her seniors looking over. So it's just kind of like a little crazy, I guess.
Anybody who knows that there's nursing knows that they're constant in the state of flux. And you're dealing with a lot of different patients with kind of jack of all trades when it comes to nursing. And so trying to help students negotiate those different experiences many times in the course of your shift or your time there with the student, there's no time to use the restroom. Because you're literally going from one thing to the next. There has been a great shift in that stage on the stage to transition to active learning. I'm using more and more students, small capacities and actual experiential things, care planning, case studies. And so I have had a new skill set. The amount of preparation that goes into being an instructor is just so. We might have lecture for 2 hours, but it would be absolutely nothing for me to spend 20 hours preparing for that 2 hours. I've had to find time out of the usual Monday through Friday work day times like Saturdays or Sunday afternoons to create digital content, things like voiceover, PowerPoint, or Camtasia build videos. Does it pay off? I think so. Students appreciate the digital content to get positive comments, and of course we have. But it's been a new thing. Everybody's understand it. But the workload is intense. And then there's also the counseling. Once again, to be there for the students and students and partners. The expectation in the early 80s for faculty availability to students was pretty much confined to one of your office hours. You're still expected to keep office hours, but there's this thing called there's the other numbers of the call texter, anything like that. Not available to students on Saturday and Sunday, maybe not technically, but then when I'm at home working and I have my Outlook open and an email comes in from a student, I'm going to answer. On one hand, say, no, retard my spot on time. I'm not here. And they're not. I'm home reading papers and one of the things that you look at is the level of availability of faculty student research. And so that expectation means that we as faculty need to find time in our schedule to work with our students. And so I need to carve out upwards of 4 or 5 hours a week, some weeks. And so that has been wonderful and engaging, just kind of almost exhilarating experience, but it takes more time.
I would love to be able to say that the footage Cheryl Grant, who has been video for this documentary, was really someone who was acting for the faculty. But the reality is, she is what Mrs. Peters are. Very multifaceted, multi-tasking individuals who are striving to stay at the top of the game in their nursing specialization and in their role as student educators.
Recognize her, but I didn't have to, and I appreciate that. I think it's fair to say, Dr. Brandt, that we are pleased and proud you're a part of this university, and we know what you do reflects probably what 99% of the faculty do. Thank you again. Now to the student spotlight. It's now my great pleasure as part of our regular student spotlight to introduce 2 students engaged in some pretty impressive scientific research here at UW-Madison. Could you please join us at the table, both Kim and Natalie? Kim Lee, who will graduate in May, has done research with the College of Engineering since her freshman year as a psychology major. Now, how do you get psychology and engineering together? Well, we'll get to that later. For the past 2 summers, she has worked with a branch of NASA in Ames, California, studying the implementation of next-generation airspace transportation systems technology on aircraft, as well as NASA Langley in Virginia, where she has worked on assessing potential solutions for dealing with complexities in automation and information management in aircraft. She first became involved in research through the Undergraduate Research Scholars Program. There it is again, undergraduate research. And now serves as an undergraduate research fellow, teaching weekly seminars to undergraduate students. Kim is applying to graduate school for human-centered design and engineering. Just a moment. Natalie Bowman is a senior in the Chancellor's Scholarship Program from Normal, Illinois, a double major in communication sciences and disorders and Spanish. She studies the effects of cross-linguistic similarities on reading abilities in bilingual children at the language acquisition and bilingualism. Sorry about that. My laryngitis is making it hard. I have to force the air out. At the Wisconsin Center, Natalie has received a Hilldale Research Fellowship in support of her work. She also serves as president of the Wisconsin Alumni Student Board, an organization that plans events that reach 35,000 students annually. After graduation, she plans to pursue a master's degree in bilingual speech-language pathology. Welcome, both of you, Kim and Natalie.
Thank you, President Cross, and thank you for having my fellow scholar and ISER students. So for the past 3.5 years, I've been involved in research with human and computer interaction in healthcare and aviation. In addition to the countless data crunching technical skills that I have learned and also research methods, participating in research has also helped me grow personally and change the way that I approach different issues. Since beginning my involvement with research, I quickly learned that an interdisciplinary perspective to solving problems offers not only a more realistic outlook towards finding solutions, but also allows for development of innovative ideas. I've had the privilege of working and learning from people of different educational, professional, and personal backgrounds. And without having the range of opportunities to work with people with different backgrounds, nobody can know firsthand the range of experiences that people go through. And I think that this is something that's extremely important when you want to make a positive impact on your community. Understanding diversities in the ways that people think and live is at the core of leadership, collaboration, and problem identification and solving at any level. Additionally, as a student on a highly competitive campus, it's easy to lose sight of a personal identity or even a purpose amidst going to classes, countless hours of studying, working, and somewhere in there fitting natural biological processes like sleeping. But by being involved in research and other scholar programs on campus, I've been able to ground myself and really reflect on not only my values, but also what exactly I am extremely passionate and excited to study. And so I challenge everyone here today to take a step back and reflect. What do you think of when you think of education and research? Is its purpose simply for attaining knowledge to step into the workforce, or is it also about building character and learning to appreciate the differences in people's values and experiences? It's also about recognizing how these differences have large impacts on how people go about their daily lives. And would any of these opportunities, would they be possible without the dedication of faculty and professors who work so hard to go beyond just textbook knowledge? In my own personal reflection, I still wonder if I would have ever entered the realm of research to begin with if it had not been for the encouragement of mentors and scholar programs on campus. Education goes far beyond just the classroom borders, and the research opportunities at UW provide students with lifelong skills to carry out the Wisconsin idea. Thank you.
If being a student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison has taught me anything, it's this. If you feel like you're in over your head, you're right where you should be. That feeling of being so desperately outside of my comfort zone is what has pushed me to define myself on a campus as big, powerful, and unique as ours. As a Chancellor Scholar, I am constantly surrounded by a diverse landscape of people who encourage me and inspire me to reach higher in my academic pursuits. As the president of the Wisconsin Alumni Student Board, I have gained the leadership skills that I know that will serve me in my future professional endeavors. Perhaps my greatest feeling of discomfort came when I designed my first study and received my first research grant to carry it out. As a Spanish and Communication Disorders major, I am currently studying the development of literacy skills in bilingual children, a relatively unexamined subject that can provide important implications on the education of our increasingly diverse population of children in America. Working collaboratively with a faculty advisor who is a leader in her field has shown me so many ways that we, as educators and as students, can really make an impact in our fields, even when we're only 21 years old. The support that the University of Wisconsin-Madison gives to undergraduate research demonstrates a dedication to educating young and emerging leaders that does not go unnoticed by the students or by the rest of the academic community. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be uncomfortable. Diving into the deep end of academia has caused me, and many students like me, to chart new territory that never would have been possible without this institution. It is because of the support of this university that I will graduate in May, armed with both the academic preparation and the professional skills to make a significant contribution to the growth of my field. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I can't believe it's been a year. I remember a year ago I used to mix you up with Regent Harzy, but you've changed. I'll now call upon Regent Higgins to present a report of the actions taken by the Research, Economic Development, and Innovation Committee.
Thank you, Regent President Falbo. The READY Committee recognized the 5 Regent Scholar Grant Program recipients that were ultimately selected out of 32 applications from across the UW system. Mark Lay, the Executive Director of Business and Entrepreneurship, provided an update on his organization's initiatives and programs. He also provided information about the Wisconsin core business economy and new economic and business research resources now available to UW system institutions. Tricia Braun, WEDC's Vice President of Economic and Community Development, provided an update on current initiatives and programs with a focus on WEDC's efforts to collaborate with the university and with state businesses and economic development organizations to build stronger communities and to support opportunities for job creation. Finally, Steve Ackerman, UW-Madison's Associate Vice Chancellor for Research Physical Sciences, and Ms. Jacola Roman, a PhD student in atmospheric and oceanic studies, provided an overview of UW-Madison's research enterprise activities and contributions to the state. That's my report. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Tim. I'll ask Regent Pruitt, Vice Chair of the Business and Finance Committee, to present the report of that committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I filled in for Regent Mueller as Chair of the Business Finance Committee, and we started off the meeting by deferring item 1.2D, which is a review of the UW System Trust Fund's proxy voting policy, which was intended to be a topic of discussion. We deferred that item for the next full board meeting agenda. The committee approved 7 items through a consent agenda, the details of which are in all of your Regent material. They are first, the approval of minutes of the December 4th meeting. Second, a contractual agreement between UW-Madison and Smithfield Foods. Third, another contractual agreement, or actually an extension of the contractual agreement between UW-Madison and Learfield Communications. A contract between UW-Milwaukee and NanoAfix LLC, A.O. Smith, Badger Meter, and Baker Manufacturing. Another contractual agreement between UW-Milwaukee and Ariba Mines and Nagra. And finally, a UW-Milwaukee contractual agreement with Calcigenics LLC. And again, all the details of that are in your materials. We also then had a brief discussion of our endorsement of the Veterans Choice Act and the approval of resident tuition rates for qualifying non-residents. This act requires that eligible non-resident U.S. veterans and other eligible benefit recipients be charged the same tuition as Wisconsin residents for pursuing the same course or program effective July 1st, 2015. Regent Harsey offered some very useful and important insights which the committee appreciated based on, obviously, his experience. In addition, the committee received briefings on a number of items, including the UW System 2014 financial report. Associate Vice President Julie Gordon provided an overview and summary of this report. Her presentation is in your folders. We also received the UW System 2014 annual trust fund reports, as well as the quarterly report of gifts, grants, and contracts for the period from July 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2014. There is finally a financial management report, which again I think all regions received, which is a high-level summary report comparing budgeted to actual revenues and expenditures, and the UW System Information Technology report. Lots of reports. So on behalf of the Business Finance Committee, I now move the adoption of Resolution 1.2A, the approval of the minutes, 1.2A2, 1.2A3, 1.2A4, 1.2A5, 1.2A6, and 1.2A7.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call upon Regent Menedez to present a report of the actions taken by the Capital Planning and Budget Committee.
Thank you, President Hall. The Capital Planning and Budget Committee unanimously approved the minutes from the December 4th meeting. And then we heard a presentation from UW-Madison campus regarding the 2005 campus master plan that included goals of improving sustainability, community, academic and research connections, student life, buildings and design guidelines, open space, transportation, and utilities. It also described the 2015 update of that plan, which will confirm and update the planning principles and revise master plans for utilities and transportation, as well as developing a comprehensive landscape master plan and a stormwater management plan. The committee asked questions and which were fully answered by the people from the Madison campus. Next, we heard a presentation from UW Parkside regarding their master plan update. This focused on the alignment of the strategic, academic, fiscal, and physical visions of the institution. Some of the purposes of the 2014 master plan were to respond to the strategic plan, establish capital priorities, identify short and long-term actions. We then had our resolution, 1.3D. We only had one this time. It was the system requesting authority to construct 7 all-agency maintenance and repair projects with an estimated total cost of $11.7 million on 4 campuses. Finally, we heard the report by Alexandra Rowe regarding the January Building Commission actions. That concludes my report, and I would ask that we approve and adopt the minutes from the December 4th, 2014 meeting and resolution 1.3D.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Ed. I'll call upon Regent Bradley to present a report of the actions taken by the Education Committee.
Thank you, President Falvo. Associate Vice President Stephen Collison presented his report on program planning, array management, and review. Stephen gave us a bit of a scare when he passed out at the end of his report, but I'm happy to report he's doing well and recovering. We certainly wish him a quick and complete recovery. I spoke yesterday about some misperceptions about the UW system and our operations on behalf of not only elected officials, the public, and maybe even our students. And Stephen did a very good job of addressing one big misperception, and that is that all we ever do is approve more programs. And the facts are that we are pretty good, I think, in comparison with the rest of the country in eliminating programs as well as approving them. As a matter of fact, rather than a conception or misperception, the facts are that we've got 40,000 more students whom we are serving since merger. And we are doing that with 24 fewer programs than we had at merger. And Stephen's materials also show how we rank with our competition. Senior Vice President David Ward addressed another misperception about the UW system, and that is that we don't respond quickly enough to the educational needs of our state. And the facts are that the changes in the program array, as Stephen reported, show substantial and rapid increases in the availability of programs, especially in the STEM fields, also the health fields, and the business fields. We then heard a report from UW-Madison Provost Sarah Mangelsdorf. She gave us an update on the university's enrollment growth and then described 4 major initiatives with student degree attainment and success, including reducing time to a degree, the Liberal Arts and Sciences Career and Internship Initiative, educational innovation, and lifelong learning, their lifelong learning web portal. We then reviewed the proposed sabbatical guidelines for the 2016 to 18 biennium. We didn't make any changes, and Senior Vice President Ward will forward these guidelines to the chancellors for their use in the upcoming sabbatical selection process. We then concluded with Senior Vice President Ward's written report in the interest of time, and that shows that the system and UW campuses have made substantial progress on steps to reduce the need for remedial instruction in English and in math, and to better articulate to our PK-12 partners the definition of college readiness in both English and math. He also reported that 5 of our campuses will host day-long meetings this spring that will bring high school and university faculty together to better understand the transition between high school and university faculty in the areas of English and math. And these regional meetings are going to be held in Eau Claire, La Crosse, Milwaukee, Oshkosh, and Whitewater. And the system is undertaking revisions in our chapters, administrative rule chapters 4, 7, 11, and 17 with regard to sexual assault and sexual harassment. Chapters 4 and 7 deal with faculty dismissal. Chapter 11 deals with dismissal of academic staff. And Chapter 17 deals with student misconduct. These draft revisions have been sent to the campus governance groups for review and their suggestions. And these campus reviews are due back to UW System Administration by March 6th. And then System Legal Counsel will review any suggestions, and final recommendations for revisions will be submitted to our board for action at our April meeting. And should we approve the revisions, they will then be sent to the state legislature for final review and approval. Our committee unanimously approved 2 resolutions, and that is 11A2 approving revisions to UW Superior Faculty Rules, and 11A3 approving the charter for UW-Milwaukee La Casa de Esperanza Charter School. Resolution 11A4 was removed from the consent agenda It was amended, and then it was adopted by majority vote. That resolution now reads that to approve the renewal of the Milwaukee Scholars Charter School for 3 years with a midway review by our committee within 18 months. We then approved the resolution for the revision of UW-Superior's mission statement, and I now move all of these resolutions for approval by the full board.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Regent.
Regent,
Yes.
I have a note and a question. A couple of years ago, when I was privileged to be on the Education Committee, I was concerned about the array report because it was just a bunch of numbers, and my question was compared to what? And I want to thank Stephen Collison and David Ward for improving that report immensely. When I read it, I thought it was much upgraded, and it did compare our array to other relevant systems and factors. So I really appreciate that. But it did raise a question. Stephen developed a benchmark number, and it's basically the number of undergraduate programs per 1,000 undergraduates that are available. And I noted that the number, we're 4.68 programs or something like that. I don't have the exact number in front of me, compared to the Minnesota system, which is a little over 10. And I was wondering, I didn't quite get the sense that there was a value judgment made there. Is that good or is that bad? And does anybody know, or should I ask Stephen that question?
Stephen probably isn't interested in answering you at the present time, but David Ward might be here.
This was developed, Regent Higgins, because you keep asking that same question, as compared to what? And so as Stephen and I talked about this, we said, well, we need to invent a measure here. And so this is an experiment, which is to say, okay, how many programs do you have compared to the number of thousands of students in your system? A lower number, in my view, is better than a higher number. So I would say we're at the, sort of at the more efficient end of the spectrum. And some of these comparisons, we may find some flack flying back at us from our colleagues out there that, well, we have some kind of count difference or whatever. But it's a first attempt to try to measure us against other large systems.
Thank you.
Yes, Mark.
Mr. President, I'd like to dispel another misconception. If you sit around and listen to our meetings for a number of years, you think that we are always comparing ourselves to something in Minnesota. But I asked a member of the Board of Regents of Minnesota system, and when they are measuring and complaining about something, they frequently compare themselves to us.
As they should.
As they should.
Thank you. It's now time for one of our most enjoyable responsibilities as a board, and that's the presentation of Regent Awards. Today, it's our pleasure to present the 7th Annual Regent Diversity Awards, and to lead us in that presentation, I will turn the floor over to the Chair of the Awards Selection Committee, Regent Jose Vasquez.
Thank you very much, Regent President Felbo. I don't have any off-the-cuff comments this year, but I should note that I am looking forward to a second visit to Cuba. But this time I am already a registered participant in the Global Entry Program, so I think the return trip should be a lot easier this time around. And that's my off-the-cuff comments. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to extend a special welcome to this year's award recipients and their families, friends, and colleagues who have joined us here this morning. We are truly honored. This is the 7th year that the Board of Regents has presented its Diversity Awards, which are meant to recognize the outstanding contributions to diversity and inclusion by people and programs at our UW institutions. While the awards are relatively new, these are ideals that the UW system has promoted for more than 25 years. Today's awards are part of a special family of awards that we as Regents approved. They include the Regents Teaching Excellence Awards and the Regents Academic Staff Excellence Awards, which recognize exceptional service. The Regents Diversity Awards program, which we present here this morning, was established through a board directive calling for the formal recognition of individuals, teams, or units within the UW system who have successfully fostered greater access and success for historically underrepresented populations. These efforts are vitally important, not only because it's the socially just and fair thing to do, but because of the educational and economic values to this university and beyond. At this time, I'd like to recognize the hard work and commitment of my Regent colleagues who served on the selection committee for these awards. And that includes Regent Tony Evers, Regent Ed Menides, and Regent Annika Puret. I think we'll all agree, after reading the many, many pages of submitted materials, that it was inspiring and rewarding to see up close all the exceptional work on diversity and inclusion that is being done around the UW system. The people and the programs we are going to hear from this morning understand what's needed. More than that, they do something about meeting those needs. Each of our award winners here today shows a genuine respect for human differences, a deep attentiveness to the learning process, and a keen responsiveness to students and their educational needs. We are proud to recognize their accomplishments and proud that they are part of the UW system family. Before we present the awards, I'd like to point out that profiles of each of our award winners has been placed in our folders, and I do encourage you to read them at your leisure. I think you'll find them very interesting. As far as the award ceremony itself, my colleagues on the Regents Selection Committee will each introduce one of the award recipients and present the award. Each winner will then have an opportunity to address the Board of Regents. Thank you. And our first one will be presented by Regent Ed Menides.
Good morning. It's my privilege to present the first 2015 Board of Regents Diversity Award in the individual category to Dr. Eric Broad, Professor of Family Medicine at UW-Madison School of Medicine and Public Health. I'd like to tell you that I met Dr. Broad a few months ago in my office. He made the trip to Eau Claire to talk to me, and we exchanged histories and our visions relating to this system and how things are going to go regarding collaboration between the system and the tribes and Native peoples. And he is not only having a vision, but he's living the vision, and when you hear about it, you're going to be very impressed. Dr. Broad founded and currently leads the Native American Center for Health Professions at UW-Madison School of Medicine and Public Health. The goal of the center is to improve the recruitment, support, retention, and graduation rates of Native American health care professional students, while also promoting partnerships. This is important, partnerships with Native communities. A colleague applauds his stated vision that he wishes the center to become the most successful Native American health education center in the nation. The center recently benefited from Dr. Broad's efforts to secure a $1 million a year grant, a 5-year grant, Indians into Medicine, or INMED for short, from the federal
Indian Health Service. He serves as principal investor of that grant. In addition, Dr. Brodt is Associate Director of the UW-Madison Collaborative Center for Health Equity. In that role, he helps develop the Association of Native American Medical Students chapter at UW-Madison, which works to integrate Native American food traditions and preventative health knowledge into student learning experiences. Dr. Brodt also works to forge collaboration and build partnerships, including the involvement in rural and urban scholars in Community Health Program, a pipeline program to recruit students from UW-Milwaukee, UW-Platteville, and UW-Parkside into careers in medicine and public health. He is currently developing a series of films, We Are All Healers, that will highlight the career paths and practices of Native physicians. The school's dean, Robert Golden, had this to say about our award winner. Quote, "The results of this collaborative efforts have been remarkable. Our school has experienced a substantial increase in Native students, Native faculty, and Native affiliate faculty since he began his efforts in improving the diversity in our healthcare science community. This provides an enormous benefit to us all," close quote. On that note, it's my pleasure to present to our first Regent Diversity Awards, Dr. Eric Brodt.
Thank you for the kind introduction. And thank you, President Cross and the Board of Regents, for allowing me to be here today. Would someone please bring me a glass of water that's half full?
Thank you.
Notice I didn't say half empty. Thanks, sir. Anim buju and then get you card the new and on the way and then no Good morning, everybody. My name is Brown Eagle, one who brings healing to the people, and I'm Anishinaabe or Ojibwe, and my clan is the Pine Marten clan. I also want to introduce the feather that I carry with me. This is a feather that was given to the Native American Center for Health Professions by a gentleman named Bejigo Kaminganung, which means first layer of the earth. And this feather was given to him by the very first Native American medical school graduate from the Mayo Clinic for the Mayo Medical School in Rochester, Minnesota. His name is Dr. David Baines. He's iconic in Indian health. He's iconic in the way he took care of people, who he took care of, and how he advocated both on a policy and political level, but also on a personal and individual level as well. So again, I thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to represent the School of Medicine and Public Health. I humbly accept this award on behalf of all those involved at the Native American Center for Health Professions and the School of Medicine and Public Health. It truly is a testament of the team that I've been able to assemble there and the hard work that they put in daily. I want to say a special thanks to Deans Golden, Petty, and Moss, because when a young guy with long hair walks into their office with a plan to make something big and great, to see a smile and have somebody respond back that they will provide you the resources and the tools to make something amazing happen, that's true leadership. And they have been true leaders in this initiative with me. And I couldn't have done any of this without them. And I know that Dean Moss, I saw him sitting in the back, and I'm truly grateful that you took the time to come here today. Additionally, I want to thank the NACHIP faculty, who are comprised of a total of 22 Native American health professionals, physicians, physical therapists, physician assistants, and 1 nurse at present. They're my mentors, my friends, and my heroes. Some of them have been there since before I went to medical school and have been guiding me along this path. I also need to thank both Cindy Hawk and Alex Adams. They're my faculty mentors. Likewise, I walked into Dr. Alex Adams' office with this idea of starting something here at Wisconsin. And she didn't tell me she was too busy, even though she may have been. She sat down and helped me figure out how we're going to make this reality here. I also need to thank individually my NACHIP staff. They include Melissa Greendeer, Tim Frandy, Lauren Heft, and Wendy Gardner. They're the crew that helps make this happen on a daily basis. And last but not least, I need to thank my wife, my parents, and the tribal communities of Wisconsin who have entered partnership with us, and all the communities here in the Great Lakes, because we're going to accomplish some amazing things together. Recently, I've had the privilege of talking to many people because you guys have disseminated this award through email. And I've been getting messages and people stopping me in the hospital or in the hallway. And one thing that I'm surprised that people have said is that the work you do is so noble. It's so noble that you work with Indians. And I stop and I correct them every time. Okay? What I do is not noble. What it is personal. It's about my family. The work that I do every day, it's not about just increasing numbers and making statistics look good for a school. It's so when I go back for Christmas and I'm talking to my brother who goes to the Indian Health Service Clinic and he gets a new doctor every year because they don't have the staffing needs and they have high turnover. It's about talking to my father-in-law who's concerned that they haven't been able to fill a position for years in the tribal community. It's about talking to my other brother who is not able to get specialty care because the contract health service dollars are out and they don't have neurologists in this area. Okay? It's not noble. This is personal. And what I do every day is to try and alleviate those inequities that we experience in my own family. I had the pleasure of learning from a lot of great people along the way, and one of my coaches once told me, son, the measure of a true champion is to identify your weakness and transform it into your greatest strength. As Coach Tom Osborne told me that in 1996. And when I arrived here at the School of Medicine and Public Health, I came from Seattle, Washington, where I did my training. I grew up in Northwest Wisconsin. I came back, and I looked around the medical school, and I did not see many Native faculty. And what that results in is a lack of Native voice within the institution. And so I said, there's a need here. Let's try and change things. And so I developed a proposal with a team of folks, and I took it to Dean Golden. Also met with Dean Petty and Dean Moss. And the Native American Center for Health Professions is real simple. The goal is to improve Native health and wellness, be it Wisconsin, the Great Lakes region, and then cascading out. Okay? We do this by improving the applications and the qualifications of Native students so they will be successful in medical education. We develop programming for students while they're here. We develop a culture and community. We recruit, retain, and develop Native faculty. And last but not least, we have meaningful and credible relationships with our tribal partners. The voice that we have is increasing. When I started, there were 3 Native American faculty at the School of Medicine and Public Health. And as of yesterday, there are now 5 Native American faculty who are employed by the School of Medicine and Public Health, and an additional 17 who are formerly affiliated. These are people who teach classes, take students, are involved in the day-to-day operations of NATIP. We've gone from 3 to 22 in 2.5 years, 2 years' time. I think that's probably the biggest accomplishment that I see carrying us forward, because those are the things that are going to build community here. Those are the things that are going to build lasting voice in our communities, lasting voice within the community, the institution here, and that's going to result in more students who are attracted to our institution. Not just because they just want to go here, but because the programs have been built that can provide them the tools to achieve their dreams. I want to thank you guys, the Board of Regents, for meeting with the tribal communities. That's a huge first step for us. And I'll let you know that we've been going out and visiting with the leadership, business committees, tribal councils, started in January, and we were going out in November and October as well. And every single community we've been at has commented on this. Actions speak much louder than words in our communities. And that is an action that needs to be followed up on. And I'm excited to be a partner with you guys in those endeavors, because this is something that we greatly need. There's a number of folks who are present in the back of the room. They're some of the NATIP faculty. They're people that have guided me along the way that I've looked up to. They're my friends. They've been my mentors. They're people that are a few steps ahead of me. And I see 3 of them right now. There's Dr. DeLong in the room, Dr. Benally Thompson, and Dr. Athman. And when I encourage some of these folks to join me to start NATIP, I promised them an adventure. I promised them an opportunity to make a difference for our communities, for Native people. A difference a long time coming. I intentionally sought each of you guys for your talents and your skills. You each have gifts that are important to making this happen. I shared my vision for developing the most successful Native American health profession center in the nation. And you guys are the ones that had the courage to take the next steps with me. NATIP has a strong start, yet this is merely the beginning. I see a bright future for NATIP, the UW system, and our tribal partners. Because together we can improve Native health and wellness, and we will work to eliminate the inequities which plague our communities. Together, we will build programs to improve the health of Wisconsin for us all. I just want to close I don't know if you guys have control over this, but for you guys that are recording this, just don't publish this, please. All right, so this can't be recorded.
Our second Regents Diversity Award in the individual category goes to Dr. Victor Macias Gonzalez, Professor of History at UW-La Crosse. He joined the UW-La Crosse faculty in 2000 and is also affiliated with the university's Department of Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies. As a first-generation Mexican-American, Dr. Macias Gonzalez knows firsthand the challenges of navigating the choices and opportunities offered by American higher education. While teaching at UW-La Crosse, he witnessed the difficulties that historically underrepresented minority students have, especially in the transition between sophomore and junior years. In response to higher than average dropout rates, he founded the Eagle Mentoring Program, or EMP, in 2009 after several years of research to make the program a collaborative, sustainable effort. The program aims to reduce equity gaps in retention between students of color and majority students. He continues to serve as the director of this mentoring and retention program. Since its founding in 2009, the EMP has served 54 students in 5 annual cohorts of 10 to 12 students each, with a 96% rate in the progress toward graduation. EMP, which is currently serving its 6th cohort, has seen 42% of its students who have graduated from university enroll in graduate school, compared to 11% of UW-La Crosse minority students. Dr. Macias Gonzalez also contributes to the UW-La Crosse community, including serving as co-chair for the La Crosse Area Latina-Latino Collaborative, which is a joint initiative between UW-La Crosse and Viterbo University. The collaborative's purpose is to increase awareness of the growing Latino presence in the region. In addition, Dr. Macias Gonzalez visits regional middle schools and high schools with high populations of Latino students. There, he works with teachers of English language learners in filling out college applications and exploring post-high school educational opportunities for the students. According to a colleague, Dr. Macias Gonzalez, quote, infuses diversity content in his courses and offers a more inclusive perspective on history and cultural studies. Victor believes that addressing diversity and inclusion in the classroom can serve as a catalyst for the intellectual and emotional growth of students. In 2013, Dr. Macias Gonzalez was named Wisconsin's U.S. Professor of the Year by the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education and the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. We are happy to add to his accolades. Please join me in welcoming our second Regent Diversity Award winner, Dr. Macias Gonzalez.
Thank you. Good morning. I came prepared with very brief remarks. I am frankly very happy to see the great dignity with which the previous award was received. And with similar gratitude, I stand before you. I came to the U.S. in 1979. I was born in the U.S., but I spent my childhood in Mexico. And I learned English before there were bilingual programs. I learned English behind a screen in a corner. And when I knew enough, I could come out from behind the screen, and I've never shut up since. What I like to do, in addition to working the 50, 60 hours, and my husband out there can attest to that, is I like to make sure that there are people in the community who can provide for those 4th graders that don't know English, or those 10th graders that don't know what college application process is like, or those mothers that want to help kids but don't understand what the difference is between a college or a university. And that's what guides me. So I guess I echo the previous recipient in saying I want to help my family, but I also want to add to the improvement of my broader Wisconsin family. And so I call upon the Board of Regents to continue to call attention and to provide for the issues affecting our many communities. The work that you're doing, whether it is today in recognizing and in a way showing examples for others to follow, I think is an excellent way to continue doing this. Most certainly, under the present political situation, it is a challenge in every way. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to also thank the faculty, staff, and the students on my campus who have been providing support, encouragement, and assistance with all the work that we've been able to do. Thank you.
Thanks so much for allowing me to be here today to talk about this particular issue and introduce the next award winner. I guess before I get into the formal comments, I personally think this is the most important award and recognition University of Wisconsin system provides. And our two students that were recognized today by President Cross both talked about diversity. In fact, one of them actually said diversity was very important to the Wisconsin idea, and that's what we're all about. So that's why I think it is the first two are great honors, and the last one will be equally important. So I'm honored to present the Regents Diversity Award in the institution or unit category to the Research Apprenticeship Program at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. The program is represented here today by Catherine Chen, who is the director of UW-Whitewater's undergraduate research program. Under the leadership of Catherine Chen, the Research Apprenticeship Program, also known as RAP, engages mainly first and second year UW-Whitewater undergraduate students in the high-impact process and program of undergraduate research, aiming to eliminate equity gaps between minority and majority students. RAP began in 2011 as a pilot program for 20 students in the College of Business and Economics and the College of Education and Professional Studies. It has since expanded to all 4 colleges on the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater campus and has served almost 200 students. Demand for the program continues to grow. The capacity for the program increased from 50 students in 2013 to 70 students in 2014. RAP students are paid research assistants who work with faculty and staff members on research projects for 1 year. They also enroll in an online course to help build basic research skills and ethics. RAP students, and get this is great information, RAP students demonstrate significantly better academic outcomes than the campus average, including first-year grade point averages and second to fourth-year retention. Greg Cook, Associate Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, had this to say about his support for this award-winning program, and I quote, "One of the critical barriers faced by many students from lower-income, first-generation, or underrepresented minority groups is the need to work during the school day and the school year to satisfy financial needs. When students work substantial hours off campus, they are less available and able to participate in on-campus projects that might engage them better in those disciplines. To address this barrier, the RAP program provides an hourly wage to students to work on projects with faculty members, and this opportunity makes a substantial difference in the lives of many students." With that, it's my honor and pleasure to present the 2015 Regents Diversity Award
to the institution and unit category to the RAP program at UW-Whitewater. Here to accept the award on behalf of the program is Director Catherine Chan.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for that very nice remarks, and congratulations to the previous two winners for their great accomplishments. I'm here to accept this award on behalf of the team that is the great driving force behind RAP, the Research Apprenticeship Program. I'm the director of the undergraduate research program, but I am by no means the only one who is working really hard to support the program and to provide all sorts of services in support of the student success. So some of the members of the team are actually here with us this morning. I'd like to pay a special recognition to them. This includes the previous director of the undergraduate research program, Seth Mysell, who is really the visionary behind the RAP program. He is the one who sought the initial support for the program, who made possible RAP. And we also have the current RAP coordinator, Juk Bhattacharya, and she is obviously the one who is working really hard each and every day, 7 days a week. That is the driving force behind the current expansion phase of the program. As was mentioned, RAP expanded from a program that served 20 students in the pilot phase to currently serving more than 70 students at UW-Whitewater right now. We also have some of our program staff in here, including our graduate assistant, Katie Gannett, as well as our student staff, Deontay Norris. Deontay himself is actually a RAP student, and he is now taken on a peer leadership role in mentoring the next cohort of RAP students. So he, of course, is an awesome individual, but he also represents a face of the success of the RAP program. RAP, as was mentioned, is a paid research assistantship program, and we believe that RAP has made a significant impact in promoting equity in the educational outcomes of students who are traditionally underserved in higher education because of various reasons. As was mentioned too, that RAP students have shown to have higher GPA and higher retention rates than the campus overall. We believe that RAP is successful because it is able to target some of the key issues that these students of opportunity, are facing each and every day, and we as a program are able to offer practical and effective solutions to some of these problems. RAP's success, I think, represents the rewards of early engagement of students. We are able, apart from providing some sort of financial support and removing some of the financial burden of attending college, we're able to help foster a sense of belonging for these students, both to the university as well as to the disciplines of choice, and help create a community of student scholars for both professional and social support. We also hope and we think are able to provide a diverse array of professional models. These professional models, of course, are our dedicated staff and faculty mentors who not only teach essential discipline-specific and life-specific skills, but they are able also to model how to be a successful professional in the field. And through undergraduate research and other related activities provided by RAP, we are providing an explicit pathway to academic and professional success that perhaps some of these students are lacking in their personal lives. So I'd like to thank, of course, a whole lot of people, but the list obviously is too long to list here completely. But first and foremost, we'd like to thank the university administration, including, of course, Provost Topper, for believing in the vision of RAP and providing financial and other support for the program. We'd like to thank many units and staff on campus for working with us to serve the students, to support their success, and of course, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to the wonderful staff and faculty mentors. Without them, there would be no RAP, because without them, there would be no mentors. And these mentors are always going above and beyond their official responsibilities and devote much of their own time and energy to nurture this wonderful group of aspiring young professionals. We thank you all, and we gratefully acknowledge the recognition from the Board of Regents. Thank you.
Thank you all, and congratulations again. In 2012, the Board of Regents approved new reporting guidelines calling for UW institutions that participate in NCAA Division I Athletics to annually provide information to the board regarding academic, fiscal, and compliance matters related to NCAA Division I intercollegiate athletics. Oversight. This accountability framework allows the board to provide proper oversight and safeguard the well-being and success of UW system student athletes. It also provides an opportunity for us to review the financial viability of UW athletic programs and how they contribute to the institution's academic missions. Through these routine reports, we hope to maintain good lines of communications between the institutions and this board. The UW system has 3 institutions with Division I NCAA athletic programs. Today we will hear from the UW-Madison Chancellor Rebecca Blank and Athletic Director Barry Alvarez. Congratulations, by the way, on the very exciting 34-31 victory over Auburn in the Outback Bowl. And I will turn it over to Chancellor Blank to introduce Athletic Director Barry Alvarez.
Let me introduce Barry Alvarez from down here, and I will let him speak. Introducing Barry Alvarez is a little bit like telling you something you very much already know. I want to thank Barry for all the work that he's done as athletic director over this past year, including stepping in to coach the team over that successful victory at Auburn. There's been a lot of conversation about college athletics over this past year. Some of it justifiably critical, and some of it, in my opinion, not justifiably critical. One of the things that I'm very proud about at the University of Wisconsin here at Madison, and is that we show what student athletics should be all about. We are very serious about the academic side of our student athletic program. We run a very clean program from the point of view of NCAA and all the rules. And on top of that, we actually win a good number of games. And the person who is most responsible for setting the tone for that and for making sure that happens is our athletic director, Barry Alvarez. So I will turn it over to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Blank, and let me commend you on your presentation yesterday. We're in a time of great change and uncertainty in college athletics. On the positive side, more of the things that are being done are to support the student athletes, more concern for student well-being. Things such as restrictions taken off of meals, full cost of attendance, which will take place beginning next school year, loss of value insurance, which allows student athletes to obtain a loan to pay for insurance, as well as allowing the campus to pay for insurance for a student athlete, and ongoing concussion protocol. The other side of the coin is that this comes with great financial costs to the athletic departments that already have
many financial challenges. This is all on top of the many legal issues facing college athletics and the NCAA. We're fortunate to be a member of a conference that leads the way in commitment to education, as well as having success on the playing field. Having said that, our department had a very successful first half of the school year. We were ranked 8th nationally this fall in the Learfield Directors Cup, which measures all sports success. Among our 6 fall sports, 3 were Big Ten title winners, 2 others finished second, were runner-up, or finished second, or were runners-up in the conference. Prior to the fall, thinking back to last spring, we all had a lot of enjoyment watching our basketball team make a run to the Final Four. We're also very proud of our Badgers Give Back program. This is a program where our student athletes provide community service hours. Last year we provided over 8,000 community service hours. This year we're on pace to more than double that. We're very proud of our student athletes. At this point, I'd like to delve a little deeper into the areas that I believe an athletic department are judged, that being academics, competition, compliance, and finances. We can take a look at some academic achievements. The core of our mission, of course, is to see that our student athletes receive a world-class education and eventually go on to earn a degree from the University of Wisconsin. We're always trying to improve, but I also feel that we continue to make great strides in that regard. At the conclusion of the 2014 fall term, our student athletes, if we have it written up here, had an accumulative grade point average, and this is nearly 900 student athletes, of over a 3.0, with 58 of them earning academic All Big Ten honors. 53% of our student athletes carried a 3.0 grade point average or above. 46 student athletes achieved a semester grade point average of 4.0. 19 student athletes carry a 4.0 cumulative grade point average. 148 student athletes were honored as being on the Dean's List, Dean's High Honors, or Dean's Honor List. Student athletes currently major in 81 diverse areas of study. A total of 277 student athletes graduated during the 2013-14 academic year. One area I think that should be addressed, and I'm sure as you went through your information that we provided, you noticed that our basketball graduation percentage was 33%. I think as you delve into that, you understand, and it's more palatable, the fact that, number one, you're talking about small numbers. Number two, when you look at those that were involved, 2 of them are still playing professional basketball, and 1 has graduated since, but not within the 6-year period. And remember, as these rates are being calculated, it's over a 6-year period. If they don't graduate over that 6-year period, they do not count towards our graduation rate. So let me give you an example of just two of our athletes, one being Michael Finley, who had a great career here, went on and had a long and successful NBA career. Mike is now a very successful businessman and works for the Dallas basketball team. He came back. He worked online and through our university and graduated last spring. This past semester, one of my former players, Lamar Soup Campbell, had an 8 or 9 year NFL career as a successful businessman in Atlanta, but wanted to obtain his degree. Came back to campus first semester, and finished up his degree. But those are just a couple of examples of our former athletes, high-profile athletes, who've come back or earned a degree, and we've had very good cooperation through our provost's office. In some cases, as Lee Evans is an example of one, and Michael also, who were able to obtain those degrees without having to come back and spend a semester on campus. I hope that answers some of your questions as far as that percentage. Competition. It's critical that our department remain competitive on the respective fields of play, and I feel that at this point we've accomplished that. I'm sure that many of you have seen the chart in Wall Street Journal for the past 2 years as the football season starts, which ranks your on-field success plus several off-the-field factors such as compliance, student-athlete conduct, home attendance, and academic progress rate. I'm proud to say that in both of the years that they published this report, we're ranked in the top 4, or up in the upper right-hand quadrant of the chart. And of course, it's not just about football and basketball. Since the start of the 2003-04 school year, our program has had 14 national championships, 50 conference championships, 30 by the men's program, and 20 by the women's programs. I'm happy to see our student athletes in multiple sports enjoying very competitive success. As far as compliance, we have made a very strong commitment to follow the Big Ten and NCAA rules. Our compliance staff has done an outstanding job in being diligent with not only our staff and our student athletes, but outside entities as well, our fans, our donors, charities, companies, etc. Our compliance staff focuses heavily on regular rules and education. Because of that, we have not had a major NCAA violation at Wisconsin in the last 15 years. Financials. Lastly, I'd like to discuss our finances. Given the environment, not only in our state, but across the country, this is an area of great concern to me. Relatively, very few colleges operate in the black, but we've been doing that for the past several years. But there are challenges ahead. Additional meals. As I mentioned, restrictions were taken off of meals this year. We decided to take advantage of that and offer our student athletes, nearly 900 of them, breakfast as well as training table to those sports that have training table at a cost of over $1.5 million per year. Next year we'll provide full cost of attendance to our student athletes, meaning approximately between $1.7 and $2 million cost to us. These are things that we have to do to remain competitive and provide the best experience that we can for our student athletes and our fans. We've never taken an over-the-top approach to as far as our finances and how we operate our program. We do it the best we can. We do the best we can to manage our money while also giving our student athletes the tools they need to be successful on the playing field and off the playing field. The system and campus face immediate and daunting financial challenges. We anticipate being called upon to assist the campus in meeting these challenges, and we hope we can do that without compromising our competitive financial and educational standards. That's our report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions for you.
Any questions of Coach? Tim? Gary?
Two things. First, as the chair of the board's audit committee, let me congratulate you for your highly successful track record in the arena of compliance. Something that we don't hear a lot about unless we fail, and you haven't. Second, let me congratulate you for your success on the field. We're all very proud of your successful work.
Thank you.
Coach Alvarez, I have to echo what Jerry said. I have both of those Wall Street Journal pages stuck to my office door because the Ohio State guy sits in a cube outside. And I think I kind of point that out occasionally. I do have a couple of questions for you. One has to do with the financials for 2013-14. And I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but I noticed that the actual revenue fell considerably short of the budgeted revenue, about $15 million. And in a year where we did so well, I noticed that the concessions and ticket sales were both down, which seems kind of strange to me. Do you have an explanation for that?
I think ticket sales for us in hockey have been on a steady decrease. I think we all have concerns, whether it be professional or collegiately, of how to keep people in the stands and how to make the game day experience equal to that of being in your living room watching a 70-inch HD TV in your recliner. That's something that we'll continue to address. As far as concessions, weather has a lot to do with concessions. And we have, you know what, I've got our finance people with me, and I think they can answer that directly. Mario?
Good morning. With regards to concession sales, UW-Athletics prior to 2013-14 was responsible for collecting and recognizing all of the revenue from our concessions, so gross revenue sales. Beginning in 2013-14 with our new relationship with Levy Corporation, Levy Corporation is responsible for collecting and recognizing the gross revenue sales. So UW-Athletics only receives a commission. So what you're looking at are really two different things. In 2013-14, and during the budget development process, we anticipated going forward with the W Club. So we budgeted for the gross revenue sales. So when we change concession partners and change that accounting practice, that accounts for the drop in gross revenue sales. But you'll also see a corresponding drop in operational expenses that we didn't have to pay out to our concessionaire.
Great. Thank you. I do know that you ended up with operating surplus, so obviously the expenses did offset the drops in the revenues, but I just thought that was kind of curious, and thanks for clarifying that. My second question has to do with the federal graduation rate. You know, I noticed that your benchmark, one of your benchmarks, is to maintain a student-athlete graduation rate that's greater than the rate for all Madison students, which I think is extremely ambitious, given the time and effort that student-athletes have to put into doing what they do, and the high graduation rate that Madison has naturally. But given that you've picked that, and given that you've fallen a bit short in the last couple of years, do you have an active program of changing what you're doing in order to actually get to that benchmark?
I'm responsible for setting that benchmark. I've always felt, from the time I took over as a football coach 25 years ago, that should be your benchmark, at least competing with your peer peer athletes. We'll keep that benchmark. I just think there are so many factors involved as you accumulate these degrees that we're dealing with the regular student athlete doesn't. Maybe it's not realistic to have that as a goal, but I've always felt that that's something that I wanted to achieve personally, but whether it's feasible or not, I don't know. And I recognize the extra time, the time demands on their hands over and above competing at a high level in the classroom, as far as in a high level on and off the field. I've got, Doug, if you have anything else that you'd like to share academically, Doug Teed is in charge of overseeing all of our academics.
So it's a good question. And the effective graduation rate is one measure of academic success. We have an academic progress rate, which is a real-time measure of success. Coach Alvarez alluded to before, giving some examples of student athletes who've come back and gotten their degrees. While certainly the general student population has challenges and reasons that they leave, I think our population certainly has reasons to pursue transferring and other options that maybe the normal student doesn't have. So I agree. I think the goal is a good one, but it's one of many goals that we have in academic services that we feel accurately measures the success that our students experience.
Well, I did notice it's certainly a stretch goal, and I compliment you for that. My final question, then I'll stop, is could you go into a little bit more about the results of the most recent NCAA meeting, where we kind of have a tiered system now, and your
autonomy. There are 5 conferences that now have autonomy, the Big Ten being one of them. If you think back, as long as the NCAA has existed, when you vote on anything, the majority of your votes come from smaller conferences. So the 5 conferences felt that the things we wanted to do for student welfare, the things that were being, all of us have been hearing through the media and everyone else in the lawsuits, we've been trying to do things for our student athletes for years, and they get voted down because of numbers. So we asked to be separated so we could make our own rules, and rules that we could agree to, and most of them being for student welfare, the meals being one of them, full cost of attendance being another, the other ones that I mentioned. So that allows us to move forward in that direction and set our own standards, and those other conferences that want to follow along and do that may do that, but allows us to move forward in a way that we can proceed in student welfare at our pace. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Chip?
Coach, there were reports around the time of Gary Anderson's departure about his concerns as to the admission standards of UW-Madison and his inability to attract recruits that met those standards. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about how you balance the academic admission standards question with on-field athletic success.
I try to use that as an advantage, not a disadvantage. Our world-class education that a young man is going to receive here. I think our admissions have been fair. I think the fact that I had success, Brett had success, Bo has had success, Dick Bennett, we've had a lot of success here with our academic standards. I think when we recruit, and I think Paul Chris, I was with Paul yesterday in Milwaukee, and we're asked that question a lot. And Paul sees it much as I do. That is an advantage in recruiting. When I sit in the living room or sat in the living room, when he sits in the living room and you talk to parents, you're talking to them not just about playing football or playing basketball, you're talking about the rest of their lives and the quality of education they're going to get at Wisconsin and the support we're going to give them here in academics as well as on the field. So when we recruit, you eliminate athletes that don't fall into that category. Now, you're going to have some that may not fit the profile that our academic people or admissions people are looking for. But if we proceed, if you do your job and you investigate and you see that there are some factors involved which you feel they may have an opportunity, or we feel as though there's a high chance for them to be successful here. And our track record with those student athletes has been very good. Much of it has to do with our academic support. And there are a lot of things that we look at. So I thought Gary was off base. We were not going to turn into a program that wholesaled and recruited primarily junior college players and at-risk players. That's never going to happen here. And I thought Gary knew that before he took the job. So I have no, sometimes we get frustrated when there's a good athlete that we feel would be a great addition and have an opportunity for success, and he's denied admissions, and we know we're going to play against him. That's frustrating occasionally, but you live with that and you move on. There are plenty of good athletes out there, good students, and we feel very comfortable with our situation.
Any other questions, comments? Coach and your staff, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next, we will continue our conversation about the state's engineering needs and engineering programs in the system. The Education Committee had presentations and a discussion about engineering at the December meeting, and we had a request at that time that we schedule a discussion of engineering with all regents present. So we will recess from our full board session, but ask that all regents participate and stay as I turn the leadership over to Regent Bradley. We'll return to our full board agenda at the conclusion of this part of the meeting. Regent Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will now call the Education Committee to order and ask the Secretary to please call the roll. We have one of the best roll callers in the entire UW system.
Along with her counterpart up here.
Yes.
Regent Bradley.
Here.
Regent Whitworth.
Here.
Regent Hall. Here. Regent Benning. Regent Peterson.
Here.
Regent Churras. Regent Vasquez.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum, and the Education Committee would like to welcome all other members of the board to our meeting. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to Senior Vice President David Ward.
Thank you, Regent Bradley. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So, we're here again to talk about engineering and to look at a set of recommendations that we've developed to look at engineering on a statewide basis. So this begins with this sort of cover slide, if you will, and you'll note the little map. There are 31,461 engineers as of May of 2014 actually employed in engineering. I make that distinction because we have lots more engineers in the state, but they've gone on from engineering work into management or sales or other things. Just that's a base for our discussion. Yesterday, during Dr. Collison's presentation, we talked a little bit about program array, and I just wanted to take 2 slides from his presentation and draw the context, because I'm going to be talking about program array a little bit later. So this first slide was illustrative of how we add and we delete programs in the UW system, something Regent Bradley mentioned in his report. So the top line is the programs we've implemented. These would not only be engineering programs, but programs in business, STEM, health, and so forth. The line below it is the programs we eliminated. and/or suspended in that same period of time. Right now, we are net adding programs over the last 10 years, but there have been a considerable number of deletions. If you look at the overall program array of the UW system, you'll see that at the time of merger, we had about 1,252 programs. Today we have 1,224 programs, but we have 40,000 more undergraduate students than we did at the time of merger. So again, going back to Regent Higgins' question about coefficient of density, as compared to what, in this case, it's more a chronological comparison. So when I stepped into this job in, June, I guess, of last year, engineering was a topic of discussion because we had requests from 4 of our campuses for 8 additional engineering programs. So I think it's a good idea to put all of our programming in context, and in this case, what I've put together is a statewide look at engineering, looking at what is the supply, what is the demand, how do we go about approving engineering or any other kind of program, and then what would be a statewide approach to this, and what are the recommendations that we might have in academic affairs for moving forward in this area. It's a very important area. The 31,500 engineers, 46% of them are employed in manufacturing, a main driver of our economy. These are good-paying jobs. The top 5 categories of engineers are mechanical, industrial. That would sort of comport with our heavy manufacturing emphasis, civil, electrical, and electronics. If you look at our degree production, if I can put it in those terms, the public universities, that's us, produce about 70% of the engineers, 1,300, that's the 2,000 baccalaureate account. The privates, that's largely MSOE and Marquette, produce a little over 550. That's about 30%. About 1,875, and we're counting only baccalaureate engineers. It's not that we don't respect the master's production, but a master's doesn't really add a person. It's generally somebody with a baccalaureate who now has a second degree on top of that. So about 1,875. When you look at our program array and look at its degree production, Madison is the largest of the programs, producing nearly 700. Platteville is a very large program, producing 400 engineers. Milwaukee, 250. Stout, 175. And Stevens Point, which has really just started getting its paper engineering program up to scale, about 16 a year. A very important part of the engineering delivery is from the UW-Platteville's collaborative programs with the UW colleges. This is an arrangement in which the colleges are active partners with UW-Platteville, and these programs are delivered at all of the colleges that you see listed right there. That delivery, which really began in about 2008, if you look at that from 2008 to 2014 as to what that's produced, in 2008 and 9, the enrollment, now these are not degrees, but enrollment was about 51. 2014-15, it was about 171. If you look at degrees conferred, started pretty modest, 37 in 2008-9, it's up to about 32. In the total period of time, about 89 degrees delivered.
Could I just...
Yes, go ahead.
Slide where it literally shows all 13 UW campuses, the
Correct.
college campuses. I mean, are really classes happening in all 13 of the campuses?
I can ask maybe Dennis to respond.
Thank you. I'll just simply answer the question. Face-to-face part of collaborative program occurs at UW-Fox Valley, UW-Rock County, and to a less extent at UW-Washington County and Sheboygan County. The others are all through streaming from these locations, those including UW-Pat.
Okay, so you do stream them out to the others?
I'm sorry?
They're streaming, as you said.
Right. The rest of the two-year colleges, we do offer degrees through streaming since 2008. That's a newer program, and graduation takes a lot longer in these because these are students who are working and can take only one or two classes.
Okay, thank you.
Carmen points out to me that the actual collaborative program has been operating since 2002. Quite a bit of history there. The estimated percentage of graduates who stay in the state. We have various numbers from our UW campuses. I've applied them as a proxy to the private schools. Our estimate is that about 2/3 of the graduates actually stay in the state. Why is that? Well, the market is a national market, so they're going to get recruited away. Some of our students are out-of-state students. They're going to maybe return to their home state. There's a lot of mobility in this particular market. Let's look then at, so that's a kind of a picture of the supply. Let's look at the demand. We get, this is kind of like that story of the blind men around the elephant. We get various pictures or pieces, if you will, of the demand. There's no real comprehensive demand study, so you have to take these pictures and kind of put them together. Well, part of the picture is the NCHEM study, which was commissioned a year or so ago, and NCHEM's based on job postings on Burning Glass, which is an internet service. They've identified these 5 areas as areas they felt, based on their research, where there was a shortage: chemical, civil, electrical, industrial, mechanical. They also created
Could I?
Yes.
Chairman, are we permitted to?
Yes, you are permitted
to ask a question. Thank you.
Especially because you're a member of the committee.
Thank you. Not to belabor it, but just to get and maybe the question is going to be, it's too large, but how independent are these 5 areas in relative to, civil engineering versus chemical engineering? While they're called engineering, you really can't say you could blend them together and create one program that at the end you could have some students go this way and some go, or how much of that can happen within these, or are these kind of freestanding? If you're going to do mechanical engineering, that's a pretty freestanding, independent of civil, chemical. Is it possible to even answer that question?
Well, I'm going to take a crack at it and then ask Masood to sort of either back me up or cut me down. My understanding, and our son was a chemical engineer, and our daughter-in-law is a chemical engineer, and my nephew is an electrical engineer, and my brother was an aeronautical engineer. So we got engineering roots in the family. But there's a sort of common core, freshman, sophomore level. You're certainly going to be taking calculus and engineering calculus and some other sciences. But as you start to get into these specialties, a civil engineer and a chemical engineer are pretty different kinds of specialty areas in terms of the junior and senior courses. So it's not kind of a program where you could kind of run it up and then sort of at the top have 5 different outputs. Am I doing a pretty good job of that? All right. So I mean, that would be my take. So along the line of that coefficient of density that we had that discussion with Regent Higgins, in the NGM study, they produced this demand-supply ratio. Nothing sacred about this, but all it did was take by region of the state what the demand was based on the burning glass postings against what the supply created in that region was. And so if you think of demand in the numerator and supply in the denominator, I don't know if that helps at all, but there's a considerable deficiency up in the New North region, largely because the only program really there is the Platteville program. And these were the regions that were identified as having demand need. There was a second, there have been several studies, but there was a study by the Educational Advisory Board. I think that was part of what UW River Falls commissioned to look at engineering demand. One approach that they took was to look at, again, using burning glass, the job postings in mechanical, electrical, and chemical in five of the northwestern counties, north or northwestern counties. So that's another sort of picture. We've had lots of letters of support that have come in on the Northwest Engineering Consortium by companies. I just point out Mark Whip Ward has no affiliation to me, so it's not, there's no conflict of interest here. But from various organizations trying to document what their demand is. So these are sort of one by one, hard to make much of a total picture out of all of that. So with that sort of base or background, how do we go ahead and we plan for meeting the statewide needs in engineering? Now, this is my calculation, so I was used to doing this as an economist and is subject to all kinds of criticism, but this is the approach I've taken. If you had 31,461 engineers in the state, and if you look at a turnover rate, now, ordinarily people start to think about turnover as retirement. So retirement just based on a 40-year career would be maybe 2.5%. Just think about 100% of the engineers spreading out over 40 years, about 2.5% of them would reach retirement age. The problem in engineering is not retirement, it's retention. There are some studies out there by the IEEE journal and a number of articles. So I think a fairly good estimate of a turnover, annual turnover, is about 6%. If 6% of the 31,451 engineers turnover, meaning leave the profession, we've got about 1,887 as an annual demand. We produce about 1,200 between the privates and the publics. By my calculation, I think we have a deficiency of somewhere around 700 engineers in the state. So that's by way of background of what we think the net demand is.
David,
yes?
I apologize for asking. Did you make any reference to projected growth, or because these are just replacing the...
This is just replacement. If you look at, I've got data from Department of Workforce Development, looks at the 10-year growth rate in engineering. You can find similar data at BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Growth rate depends on field. Overall, I would say growth is about 2% a year. It's not real high, but 2% a year based on, a base of 31,500. It adds up over time. But that estimate does not include any growth in it.
had a question about that too, and I had a question about that too, and I had a question as I read the various reports and the various materials that I've been receiving over the last, almost the last year now. In some respects, this is current year, and also does that. And how much of a market analysis we have, and how much is that a market analysis taken into consideration of not just the state as a whole, but the different areas within the state? Because right now there are different, and frankly, in some cases, surprising growth patterns within the state.
I don't think we have that kind of detail of market analysis. I would, think in our discussions that Ray and I have had, we've talked about the need to get more focused on data like that, so that we have a better feeling, so that in the end, when someone says, hey, what's the engineering demand, they come to UW because we know that kind of data. But at this point, all we have is a sort of a very broad state view. And as I said before, it's a piece here and a piece there in terms of figuring out where this is going.
Yeah, and some of the areas is anecdotal, the letters that we've received and so forth.
Right.
Yeah.
So, David, based on what you do have, it would be a pretty safe conclusion that your number is probably, if anything, short.
As many of you may know, I made part of my career was as a forensic economist, and I testified in court cases for over 40 years. And when I would make projections like this, I always made sure, because I knew either one or the other of the attorneys, no disrespect to attorneys here, would attempt to do open heart surgery without any anesthetic to attack my numbers. So I've always sort of had in my back pocket something I could pull out and say, well, yeah, that number, but I haven't accounted for growth or some such thing. So, yeah, I think my number is a little bit on the conservative side.
As to the 687, another thing I think you have not accounted for here, and we might want to just think lightly about, is inevitable natural immigration of engineers who haven't been educated here.
Yeah.
You'd always have a certain percentage of vacancies filled with people new to the state.
The other
so
thing,
you might want to discount that number by whatever percent would be appropriate.
The other thing I haven't accounted for, and Regent Higgins and I had some exchange about this, I haven't accounted for engineers going into the entrepreneurial space and doing startups. There's some evidence of that. I asked Regent Higgins, based on his connections, to just gather together as many, just off the top, firms that were started or are engineering consulting firms. So I think that hasn't been rolled into that number either.
Forgive me if this has been touched on in the past and I just don't remember, but from the institutions that offer engineering programs, how many of those are at capacity? Like if there's ability to have more students use the programs already in existence?
I think that's probably a campus-by-campus determination. At capacity, these are fairly expensive programs. There was a letter sent to the Regents by the 3 engineering programs saying that they had greatly expanded their enrollments in the last 4 or 5 years. I think that's probably an individual campus decision as to whether they're quote-unquote at capacity. What typically happens is in an academic program is you try to make space in a program, and eventually you either run out of money or space to do it. I think capacity is a function not only of do you have people who can deliver the faculty instruction, but do you have the facilities? You might recall yesterday in the Chancellor Blank's statement about the chemistry building and running the chemistry labs well, it wasn't quite 24 hours a day, but it was 7 days a week and 10 or 12 hours a day. So that's kind of a wishy-washy answer, but that's my take on it. Okay, program approval process. So I just want to go through this so that I set the context for where we are in this current discussion. So these were the programs requested with the dates on the side from UW-Eau Claire, UW River Falls, UW Stevens Point, UW Stout. And so we have, part of the approval process begins with a determination of can a campus go forward to plan to implement a program. Now this is where we get into that timeline issue of the system sit on stuff too long. And so just by way of, you have those dates, so this has been kind of hanging there for a while. I think it's time to move on one way or the other. So number one is this is submitted, system, meaning academic affairs, looks at it and makes a determination one way or another. It is a gate, there is no question. It is a gate into the academic program array. I'll remind you again of those numbers I reviewed with you right at the beginning. So 1,252 at merger, 1,224 today. It's hard to swing that gate sometimes. So we make a determination in consultation with the campus. Then if the intent to plan, which is a system determination, and usually Dr. Collison then issues a letter one way or the other saying yes, you can go ahead, or no, you can't. Planning proceeds. And then the campus comes back and says, okay, we're done with the planning. There's been some interaction with our staff along the way. Can we recommend this to the Board of Regents? Again, Academic Affairs decides whether or not that's the case. Then we recommend it to the board. It comes to the Education Committee, then to the full board. If it's authorized, then the campus goes ahead and implements. Now, at any point in time here, you can get an intent to plan. You can have a number of intents to plan that never bear out. The campus goes back. Might be a budget situation. I won't make any further comment. It might be a resource. It might be facilities, whatever. And then again, they could get an authorization, and again, there could be factors that prevent them from implementing. But that's the process, and over on the right-hand side is who makes the final decision. So we're at the first step, notice of intent to plan. Then there's the second step, it's the planning process. The third, to get an authorization, we put this up with respect to engineering. You have to present a clear demand case, and that's certainly one of the issues that's in front of us. At this point in time, there are no new resources. We say that 5 different ways. There are no new resources. We don't have any money. So you're going to have to figure out how to finance this. Increasingly, we want to have a consortial arrangement. We feel that we're now up to 11 consortial programs, that these are efficient, that there's accreditation, the program quality. In this case, it's ABET. I'll stop there and ask Regent Diversity.
I just want clarification on the chart that has those requests for 8 engineering programs. Are they already at the step 1, or are they at the pre-step 1? I just want to have a better understanding.
Yeah, we have not made the final decision on intent to plan. They're hanging there.
So they're pre-step 1, right?
That's right.
That's where they are. Okay.
Yeah. And then we go the right way.
On the subject of no dollars available. Regent Bradley stressed in his report from the Education Committee with regard to the array that we're eliminating or suspending over time as many programs as we're adding. So if a campus or campuses would say, no, this is a new priority, we need to emphasize, then part of the mix could be moving along with regard to what would be appropriate suspensions or eliminations so as to net out dollars needed.
That would certainly be one approach. You might be looking within the academic enterprise. You might be looking for private money to support it. You might be looking to some growth in enrollment that would result in revenue. All of those things figure into the financial mix.
On the new program approval process on page 19, you don't have any time, and I'm presuming that the time is flexible, the timing for each one of these steps.
Yeah, once the intent to plan is authorized, you have 5 years.
Oh, I understand. All right.
Yeah.
So you do have a framework of time. But it is 5 years.
But it's 5 years. And once you get the authorization from the board, you have 5 years.
Thank you.
Yeah. Additional conditions, congruence with the mission, non-duplication has certainly been an issue that we've talked about in the prior 2 meetings, the overall cost, and there could be some situations in which you have to go to the Higher Learning Commission, which is the body that accredits at the macro level, and get a change in your status as you're offering programs. Third and fourth steps, again, comes back to system. We make a decision to recommend, then we come to the board, and the board makes a decision whether or not to approve. All right, so that's the process. So the recommendations are as follows, and I put this as context. I'll say it again. There is no new money. And therefore, if programs are going to be implemented, and I don't care if we're talking engineering or we're talking about a business program or we're talking about a health program, there's no new money. That might change. I'm always an optimist. But right now, it's going to be either reallocation on the campus, outside support, or some other, winning the lottery. But there are no new state dollars. So here are our recommendations. We've approached this from meeting the needs of the state by the geographical regions. Northwest, that we should say to Stout, go ahead with the mechanical engineering, to Eau Claire, go ahead with materials science engineering, to Stevens Point, go ahead with the chemical engineering, and to River Falls, go ahead with the agricultural engineering. I asked the question after the intents to plan were submitted, what is your top priority? We had discussions with the chancellor, and these are the top priorities. Over in the Northeast, the New North region, again, that's kind of my home country. We've never had an engineering program. That's always been a sort of a mismatch. Here you have, if not the largest industrial area of the state, the second largest, heavy in manufacturing, but there's not been a resident engineering program. I believe that the Platteville Collaborative is a good approach, and we have the congruence of having lots of 2-year campuses in that region. Not so much the case over in the Northwest. So that we should further develop this program, support it to the extent that we can help. That, I think, is a viable solution to meeting the needs in the Northeast region. In the Southeast, we've got quite a bit of activity going on. UW-Milwaukee has sort of re-energized its program with UW-Parkside. There's obviously School of Engineering at UW-Milwaukee, it's of considerable size. Platteville has a collaborative at Rock County, which has both enrollments and graduates as evidence. And Madison has a collaborative with UW-Whitewater to meet that. So that's sort of the geographical piece. I think we need to be thinking about 3 other areas to meet the engineering needs of the state and align ourselves better. Madison is obviously probably the premier engineering research for considerable distance, not only here but around this region. Milwaukee has a growing engineering research and a number of collaboratives with key industries. There are small applied research programs going on at our comprehensive institutions. They tend to be industry affiliated. Without the industry connection, there probably isn't enough resource to support. But we need to be looking at that. We need to be looking at continuing education. You've got 31,500 very important professionals in the state. I think Madison has always taken the lead in this as the largest continuing ed program. Milwaukee is doing some things. There may be some things that emerge on the comprehensive campuses, but at this point I think it warrants further discussion and planning. Finally, I don't think we should overlook graduate education. Again, Milwaukee and Madison. Madison is a huge player in the graduate, not only the doctoral, but the master's, as Milwaukee is as well. So those are the recommendations. If we go forward with intent to plan, we would issue those next week. So if you're looking for timeline, we wouldn't waste any time. It would probably take 60 days to get the planning and authorization done. So the first window we see for the board to be taking action is the April meeting, more likely June, but we'll be as flexible as we need to be. So that's the whole show, as they say, and I'm willing to answer any questions and take any suggestions and comments.
You can direct your questions to David so he can field them.
Has there been any calculations as far as a cost per student? As far as the deficit goes for the state, do we know what a cost to fulfill that's going to be?
On the cost element, I alerted the chancellors that I would, when I got the hard questions, I would turn them immediately to them. And certainly Dennis can weigh in on that, or Becky or Mark, but let's start with the Eau Claire response.
Thank you for the question, members of the board. UW-Eau Claire faculty have been working on this for a number of years. It's not our intention to become a major engineering school. Material science program, eventually chemical engineering, are natural outgrowths of unique expertise of our faculty and demand for people in our area. I think the 3 chancellors at River Falls, Stout, and myself can say that we're committed to doing this on a collaborative basis to try to keep the costs down, to make sure we offer maximum flexibility to students. Students could start at any one of our 3 institutions or potentially other UW schools and then transfer seamlessly between the 3 of them. We plan to undertake a number of other collaborative efforts, such as outreach in the area of middle school and high schools, hosting camps, doing it together in a collaborative rather than competitive way. The cost of implementing the UW-Eau Claire Material Science Engineering program at this moment is 0, because over the last 5 or 6 years, as we've had vacancies in physics, chemistry, and other areas, we have hired engineering prepared PhDs who are qualified to teach the program. We've actually developed a curriculum over the last several years, and we are currently delivering all of the material science curriculum. Over the last 5 or 6 years, our faculty have been especially aggressive in seeking National Science Foundation grants, grants from private industry, grants from private individuals, and I can say that we have one of the best equipped material science labs in the country. All that is missing is the ability to grant the degree, grant the credential. I'm very proud that our most recent Rhodes Scholar, Tyle Sanders from rural Wisconsin, will be graduating this May. I'll have the opportunity to shake his hand at graduation. Regent Milner will be there to see this as well. And I'll be able to give him a blue-gold degree, but I will not be able to give him the engineering credential. It's good enough for Oxford. He's one of 32 Rhodes Scholars in the country. But the direct answer to your question is, we've done this thoughtfully. We've reallocated funds. We've been more aggressive in seeking private support. We've done it slowly and thoughtfully. If for some reason we don't believe that this is a wise decision and we would not offer the engineering degree, we would probably begin the effort of reallocating resources away from this. Because to have the curriculum and not give these blue golds that opportunity with the degree, the actual credential, it shorts them a lot of money in terms of pay. It's one thing to say I've had the coursework, but unless you can say you have an engineering degree, the difference in the pay ends up being 20 or more %. And it prohibits the opportunity for many of our grads to work for some of the premier companies in northwestern Wisconsin.
David, I think David Shield wants to say something. Yes.
Thank you. I don't want to duplicate a lot of what may have been said. I come from an admissions background, and I think this is something that you really need to think about as you deliberate over this. Where are the students going to come from? We're in a state of declining demographic. To be clear, I'm talking about mechanical and electrical. It is one thing to say we'd like to have a program and that we think there's a demand for the graduates. It's not clear to me that we have, that if we expand mechanical and electrical, all we're going to do is shift around where students go to school. It's been said that, there's a market in the Northwest region. I think that it's very important for systems to be responsive to the needs of business and industry in that area. I think that's really important. We ought to try to figure out how to do that. I don't know that adding electrical or mechanical engineering in that region does anything but move the population of students from programs that are already in place to a different place. Then what you got to take into account, what's the impact on the programs that are already in place? One thing you got to also take account of, the number of graduates from the 3 engineering programs in the system in place has grown 35% over the last 5 years. So we're expanding that demand. Finally, I would say there's a question in my mind whether there aren't other things driving whether or not there are enough mechanical and electrical engineers in the Northwest region. We already had, at the last meeting, a discussion of what's the compensation level. That has something to do with it. I have real reservations about how they've sort of interacted with the mechanical and electrical engineering programs that are already in place. Are they coming after our students? One of the things that I know is the graduates from Platteville that are from Wisconsin, 85% of them stay in state. That northeast corridor, or Blue North or whatever, historically there have been students who have been coming from that direction down to Platteville and going back up there, and our collaborative program really supports that. The last suggestion I'd make is that before we expend a lot more resources on this, we ought to try a collaborative approach up there and see if there really is a demand. And if there is, 4 or 5 years, I'll shut up and not argue about it. Thanks.
Chancellor Van Deel. Thank you. I'd like to add just a couple other perspectives. First, from a campus view, in our case, we're looking at agricultural engineering, as I think you know that is a tremendous strength of our campus. We have a college of engineering that is very strong. We have the second largest dairy science program in the country. So for us, it's a logical next step. We have an agricultural engineering technology program now with about 76 students in. So this has been in the works for about 2 years based on discussion with industry leaders, with our faculty. So for us, it is a logical next step. Regarding students, 72% of our students come from within 100 miles of River Falls. So we are primarily a regional university. It may surprise some of you, although if you went to the board meeting in April, it won't. We are a long way from Madison, Milwaukee, and also about 4 hours or so from Platteville. We are located in the fastest growing region percentage-wise in this state. So we think it's important to have these types of programs in collaboration in Northwest Wisconsin. The final point I would make is connections with business, industry, K through 12. As I've heard the discussions of this board and legislators over the last several years, it's very much been focused on being responsive to the needs of the state, businesses, K through 12 in the region. And I cannot think of a better way, at least for my campus, to do that than to start a program like this. You cannot remotely, very easily, build those relationships with regional businesses and build pipelines through K through 12. You have to be on the ground. You have to have the faculty to do it. In our case, this would involve over the coming years reallocating 1% of our faculty, roughly, 2 faculty positions to add to the 4 professionally qualified faculty we already have. We've identified the space. In our fund balance report from last year, we set aside some money to renovate that space, not only for this program that we'd like to implement, but for our existing ag engineering technology program. So this has been a planned process that I think is a good fit for our mission, and I'm delighted that we've been working with Stout and Eau Claire. It's been a great thing, so thank you.
Jim Whitburn.
I'd like to drill down a little bit more on this, the parameters of the collaboration. Are all 4 of the campuses, Stout, Eau Claire, Stevens Point, and River Falls, going to be in this collaborative mode?
I will turn to Regent Meyer I think it's 3 of the campuses.
So Stevens Point's not?
That's right. It's Stout, Eau Claire, and River Falls.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm a sophomore at Stout. I'm midway through my second year. I want to be an engineer, but I don't want to be a mechanical engineer or follow other Stout programs. I want to enroll in the agricultural degree at River Falls. I don't transfer. Or do I?
That's the design of the core curriculum. It will allow that transfer. A student will be able to go over to River Falls without loss of credit.
So I think the answer is you do transfer.
Okay. So this is not online, living at Menominee, going over once a month. We transfer.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
David, just so that I'm clear on the recommendation that you're making here in terms of these 4, essentially if the committee and ultimately the board says, yes, move forward to the planning, what are we really telling the campuses? Are we essentially saying, done, just bring us the paperwork and we're moving forward? Or, and part of it is within the context of also how much time, energy, effort, resources are spent at this stage, and then they come to us and we say, well, thank you for all of that, but no, you're not going to get this done.
So, again, I'll try to delineate the process and assess the risks that you just laid out. The process is they come to system, to academic affairs, and we're at that first stage. what I don't want to do is say, yeah, go ahead. And the board later on says, well, that was a foolish thing to do, even though I might not be here. So I wanted to have this discussion in the context of the entire array, engineering array, with the idea that the campuses understand that they're granted an intent to plan. That's all it is. They still have to convince the board when they come here for an authorization. There is a demand. They've got a way to finance the program. I think to Dennis's point that there's a pipeline of students that are going to be there, that they're going to meet the ABET accreditation, that it's consistent with their mission, that they've taken care of the Higher Learning Commission. They got to take care of all that. And they got to convince you, first us, and then you. Yeah, we've checked all the boxes, and we think we're good to go. So they bear that risk. You all say, sort of a consensus, okay, it doesn't guarantee them anything. It might be that, the budget might preclude some of this. But I think what you'll find is that these 4 programs, and the reasons that I feel they ought to be given an intent is they've already gone through the hard decisions. In the case of Eau Claire, it's practically, it's all there. I think Bernie would argue that, and he did 2 meetings ago or 1 meeting ago, that not only does he have the curriculum in place because it's very close to the paper science and engineering, but he's also got the laboratories and what he needs. So that's kind of a specialty area to meet the paper industry needs. And I think likewise from the other 2 campuses, and you just heard Dean argue about what they already have in place, and Bob has made the argument to me infinite numbers of times that about the mechanical engineering resources he has in place. But I just emphasize again, all this would say is you're at the starting gate, we opened up the gate, you've got to come back and convince the board that you've got a solid case to go forward. I think the chancellors would agree that's the deal.
David, I want to acknowledge that we have in our audience Joe Coonan with Kimberly Clark, who's been participating in the collaborative program in the Fox Valley very actively for quite some time. I'd like you to rein me in if I'm wrong about this, but I did want to bring up the issue of the place-bound student, because there is a certain element involved in creating demand by expanding the geographic scope of our education or of our engineering programs. In that, a KC employee may have a chemistry degree, but she might not be able to move up to the next step she wants to move up to without an engineering degree. But she's got a family, she's got a husband, she's got a church, she lives in the valley, and it's not an option for her to transfer to Madison or to Milwaukee or Platteville. And by putting engineering programs in some of our campuses that are in areas of quick growth, in areas of high demand, we'll not only talk about recruiting and retaining the traditional student, but we'll be giving people who might not even be on our radar screen the opportunity to move up in their own organizations, which has a huge benefit both for the employer and the employee. So I'm very inclined to approve a program that allows that to happen.
Actually, Margaret's been waiting. Go ahead, Margaret.
Thank you, Tony. I guess, first of all, I heard you loud and clear about cost controls. I think everyone in the room knows we're talking about no new money.
Right.
We're talking about shifting priorities within budgets and using personnel in that way. Could I just ask, a reminder question. We approved the engineering technology programs at Green Bay and Oshkosh. That's finished, right?
Right.
Okay. But what I want to remind us about is when we approved those, we utilized some of the facilities of the tech schools. And at this day and age, when we are at bare bones, I don't think that sort of use of facilities and others should be overlooked. No. And I think the taxpayers of the state and the students of the state would be well served by that effort. First of all, I am delighted, Mr. Chair, that this committee is meeting with all of us, and thanks for the opportunity. You know my bias toward engineering, so I'm thrilled. I'm like a pig in you-know-what, hearing all this discussion. What was that?
Abundantly clear.
Okay. But I guess I want to remind us all that a year ago, 2 years, when Jeffrey Emails was with us, 2 years ago, it'll be in June, and the numbers he put out on the need of engineers in this country and in this state, I think is burned in all of our memories, because he was talking from where the rubber meets the road and where the need is very evident. The next two-day Regent meeting is at UW-Waukesha. I will tell you the jobs needed to the greatest extent in Waukesha County, anecdotally and by numbers, are engineers. No matter who you talk to, that is what you're going to hear. And so I guess what I would say to the campuses and to all of us is there are ways, and you did some initial number gathering and some data. I would love to follow your economic efforts and get more specific. I would love to know what WMC has in their bag of tricks about what their members who need engineers are saying right now. Some of this would be anecdotal, but we've got to make the case if we're going to go forward. And I believe it's on all of us, along with the campuses involved. And I guess the thing that I really think we should do is long-range thinking on this, not an immediate reaction to what we think we need right now. We've got to fill the immediate, but also build toward the long term. There was a time when industrial engineering was the most important engineering, when the auto industry was going in the tank. Then it died off. Now it's coming back. And it's coming back because the biomedical areas and our healthcare areas are suddenly needing industrial engineering. My only reason for mentioning that is everything ebbs and flows, and we've got to have a good framework in place to meet that for the students, traditional and non-traditional, in this area. So I want our feet on the gas pedal and get going on this, and I think it's a well-presented, thoughtful program.
But just a couple of things. You brought up the engineering technology. That's a whole other set of
right. I understand that, and I don't.
18,000 professionals we ought to be thinking about. And the second is on WMC. I did have a conversation with Jim Morgan. We did send out a sort of a broadcast thing from System to a number of organizations. It probably went out at a bad time in the holiday season, but I did get a chance to talk to Jim, and not specifically about the Northwest program, so not implying that. But he said, huge need that we have is engineering, a WMC perspective. So.
Well, I can remember when I was up at Superior visiting, and I heard there everything that was engineering was at Duluth. I resent that. I am a Wisconsinite. I am on this board as a Wisconsinite. And I don't want to see our Indian Head country and our Northwest country get soaked off into Minnesota to fulfill needs. I want it to be fulfilled and the businesses to grow here.
I've heard Duluth referred to as North Superior.
Well, they'll have to cede on to us then together.
Thank you.
No, go ahead.
Very quickly, Churchill said something about the new world needs lots more engineers, but we don't need a world full of engineers. So we want to keep that in mind. And I agree, Margaret, there's lots of needs for more engineers. What concerns me is, given the constraints we're facing, and I know this planning process will take time, and I know we want to put our foot to the gas pedal, but The one argument that is made that I just don't know if there's empirical evidence, and I hope people will think this through when going forward, is that somehow if you live in Crandon or you live in Colfax, you won't come to Madison, Platteville, or Milwaukee. That's not true for medical school. That's not true for law school. That's not true for a lot of areas. And I encourage us not to ignore empirical evidence around this. I think we should know what we're talking. I don't know. I just can't believe a student in Baldwin Woodville won't come to Madison or Platteville or Milwaukee. That's an argument I think needs to be either dropped or supported.
Observations about this, because one of the most common things that business people in the New North have told me in the semester I've been here is we need engineering. And then the second question is, why doesn't Green Bay have engineering? And I can't answer that question. But I want to make a couple observations about this. First of all, my own observation of that area suggests that that is true, although we haven't conducted a study of our own. My second observation is that this system has a history of consortial relationships that get big things done, and so that gives us an opportunity. And I think the third thing I want you to know is that while we have an engineering technology program now, we are hiring engineers, we are moving that program forward, we've got a lot of good enrollment in that program, I'm very excited. We have been thinking about engineering at Green Bay for a long time, and we are committed, Regent Farrow, to optimizing the consortial arrangements we have with and potential partnerships we have with a lot of institutions in this system to move more engineering to the New North, because I can tell you it's needed, it's an underserved area. I will say one other thing in response to Regent Farrow's comment about the technical colleges. We are pretty well endowed with capacity to teach engineering in the region because of their strengths. I'm not new to engineering, having supervised large engineering programs, and so I think partnerships are available, and we can help meet. My own view about engineers is that we need as many as possible. I think if you look at where entrepreneurship occurs, the new geography of jobs in this country, there are just lots of engineers in those places. And that's one of the goals we have for the New North. So we will be working very closely with our colleagues from Platteville and Milwaukee in the coming years to figure out how we can get into this in a constructive way that meets our mission and also meets the needs of the region. So I think this is a very constructive conversation, and thank you for letting me make those comments.
Sure. Just go ahead.
Yeah, you go first, and then I have some comments when you finish. Yes, please go.
Thank you. Again, my name is Mesut Muslu. I am the interim dean of the College of Engineering, Math and Science at UW-Platteville. Although I do not feel that I have a dog in this fight either, actually. This is for Wisconsin. This is not for UW-Platteville, UW-Green Bay, or anybody else. That's what the decision has to be. And I do want to point out a few things, maybe a little detail, but we deans of engineering at UW-Platteville, UW-Madison, and Milwaukee, we put together a 10-page report, three-page letter, and some data, if you will, I assume everyone received. It clearly shows that the number of graduates have increased significantly. Graduates in the future years will increase about 30%. These numbers are not small numbers. Is there any engineering demand here? Yes, but I believe that engineering programs are already responding to that in a major way. There are other things. I don't want to go over the report, but I do want to point out that, we are talking about engineering easy, and I have no doubt that chancellors work on this space. And in electrical engineering, In UW-Platteville, we have 6 laboratories. Each of them is about 1,500 square foot. In mechanical engineering, simple. In other words, I don't mean that the other institutions don't have appropriate lab by any means, but these programs are very lab intensive and they turn out to be very expensive, period. The last thing I want to the last point that I want to make is I have lived long enough. I came to this country in 1979 as a graduate student. And at that time, engineering was again huge and universities were graduating a lot of engineers. In fact, it peaked in 1985, looking at NSF data or ASWE data, anywhere about 85,000. About 15 years after, the total graduates were about 60,000, even after Clinton era. What I'm trying to make is now it's about 85,000 again. And what I'm trying to make is engineering demand turns out to be cyclical as well. As you are making those decisions, I appreciate if you consider all those. Thank you.
I very much appreciate the concerns of Chancellor Shield regarding the competition for students within the state. And I don't personally ascribe to the theory of if you build it, they'll come. But a couple of things to say about engineering and engineering within the state. Of course, we all know what happened when we got too many lawyers, so maybe it's a template for too many engineers. But first of all, if we have in place the programs that just simply need to be titled, particularly considering the financial constraints that we have on the system right now, it seems to me just logical that we should do the titling. It just seems logical. Having said that, then we need to take a look at planning. And right now we've got a market, we've got a need for engineering that's current and that is growing. And if you take a look at what's happening in industry, in entrepreneurial businesses, that growth will continue, or at least that growth should continue. And also I'd like to say that the market area for the northwest portion of Wisconsin and for the Platteville and also for the consortium that exists in the Fox River Valley, those are different market areas. And I would say that the market area in northwest Wisconsin is not simply a market area for northwest Wisconsin. It broaches into Minnesota. And we have a real opportunity to capture that market with a stronger outreach in Minnesota. So what I would hope is that we take a serious look at the programs that are currently in place and that we would at least begin the process of analyzing what we can do with a consortium approach to what our needs are going to be in northwest Wisconsin.
Let me take one more run at this. This is the third review that we've done of the proposed engineering consortium and the minor addition to Stephen's point. And our review is centered around ensuring the following safeguards. Is there demand? Is there appropriate faculty who can absorb the work? Are there localized positions that our graduates will fill with family supporting jobs? Is there student demand and localized interest? Perhaps most importantly, is the business community going to step up with financial and internship and co-op support? In my view, all of these questions have been answered with facts from our discussion of yesterday and data supplied by interested chancellors and their campuses. As a region, it's my view that it's incumbent on us to respond to community needs, to student needs, and campus requests for help. I support this initiative. I think that we've laid the short-term thinking to take action. I agree with all comments about longer-term approach to engineering. And I put the onus on our chancellors, and I trust that, because Chancellor Shields is sitting far enough away, that they will do an exceptional job of proving to us that the demand was present. If they don't, I also view it the job of the Regents to say this was a challenge worth taking, a hill worth climbing, but we need to pivot. And we talked a long time yesterday about program array. We've got to have the ability to be decisive about changing it. But I think we need to execute here. I mean, we have the facts before us. They're not entirely played out. I'm willing to take that risk, and I hope as a board we start to execute with a little bit more business decisiveness.
I keep getting... never marry an engineer, I think, is what I'm concluding.
I did, and he sold me.
So would you like to make a comment?
Thank you, sir. My name is Brett Peters. I'm the Dean of the College of Engineering and Applied Science at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I want to just take the opportunity, if I could, just make a couple of comments. First, I'd like to echo some of the comments that my colleague Masood made about the growth in engineering at all three of our campuses recently. We have seen considerable growth. I'm a huge supporter of engineering, obviously, and I want to continue for Wisconsin to produce the quality engineers that is really needed to drive the economic growth and development of the state. But I want to encourage us to think about focusing on the system and the needs of the system and really building on the strong programs that we have. Those programs encompass undergraduate education, graduate education, and research, and that critical blend is really going to be critically important as we continue to go forward, trying to meet the needs of the state and continue the economic growth and development. I believe that there are plenty of opportunities to build collaborative efforts, to expand some of the success that Platteville has shown, to work toward facilitating transfer within the system. It already happens. We can make it easier. We can make it more effective. We can work with industry across the state to find ways to support the students, to get the degrees that they need, to stay connected to the regions through internships, and to serve the needs of those companies should they truly exist. I believe that engineering is critical to this state. I believe that the system really needs to address the needs of all the engineering programs, which are substantial. Our growth has come at a time when there hasn't been new resources devoted to engineering programs. And I think that it makes sense to continue to focus on those strong programs, find ways to use them as the pillars, and build a collaborative nature that we need across the system to satisfy the needs of the whole state. I believe that the growth that we're seeing and the willingness to work together will allow us to do that in ways that will, in the long run, allow us to satisfy the needs as they grow and develop, and as new areas become more emphasized and other areas de-emphasized. I think these are factors that are important to consider in making sure that we're really building a strong foundation for the long term and not overreacting in the short term. And I think that the growth in the programs that we have and the opportunity to build on the collaborative nature that already exists should really be strongly considered before we really dilute what is a strong part of the University of Wisconsin system. And I stand with my colleagues ready to continue to find ways to grow and strengthen our programs, to work closely with our partner institutions, and to really meet the needs of the state and beyond. Thank you.
I don't have any more comments.
Okay.
I'd be willing to answer any questions.
Any other questions from members of the committee or from Regents at large? Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Committee of Education.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Regent Badger. The full board is now reconvened. And we've had 2 days of some pretty in-depth discussions. So I'd like to tell you a little story, maybe just lighten it up a little bit. As we all do as regents, so we go to commencements and we bring greetings from the board and congratulate the students on their accomplishments. I was fortunate enough to be invited to UW-Eau Claire this past commencement. And when I got there the morning of the commencement, I was told that the person that they wanted to speak got food poisoning the night before. And could I stretch my greeting remarks? And it kind of offended me a little bit. I mean, I was proud to do it. It offended me a little bit because I've always been the second choice as the commencement speaker, not as the greetings, but as a commencement speaker, I've always kind of been a second choice. I was second to Arnold Schwarzenegger up in Superior, and the poor gentleman that got food poisoning is doing fine. But and then on top of that, they presented me after I stretched my speech with this beautiful emblem of excellence from UW-Eau Claire. And right after the ceremony, the chancellor came up to me and said, "Could I have that back?" It's not for you, and it has somebody else's name on it. So I was going to call him out today, but he actually delivered me one with my name on it yesterday, and I wanted to thank Chancellor Schmidt for following through. Thank you. I'm going to call upon Regent Manydeeds to read a resolution to thank UW-Madison for hosting our February meeting. Yeah, be careful up there.
I know, but this is a pleasure. The resolution of appreciation for the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Whereas the members of the Board of Regents are pleased to recognize the University of Wisconsin-Madison as the official host campus for the Board's February 2015 meeting. And whereas the Board is grateful for the generous hospitality extended this month by Chancellor Plank and the entire UW-Madison community, and whereas the Board appreciated the thoughtfulness of Chancellor Blank's presentation regarding the opportunities and challenges at University-Madison. And whereas the Research, Economic Development, and Innovative or READY Committee was impressed by the overview of UW-Madison's research enterprise, and the Business and Finance Committee appreciated hearing about trends and prospects for research funding at UW-Madison. And whereas UW-Madison offered the Capital Planning Committee an informative review of the 2005 campus plan and the 2015 campus update process. And whereas the members of the Education Committee thanked Provost Sarah Megelsdorf for the educational updates, which included an update on enrollment and several important initiatives such as reducing the time to degree. And whereas the Board was delighted to hear from two UW students this morning featured in this month's Student Spotlight, Kim Lee and Natalie Bowman, be it therefore resolved that the Board of Regents hereby thanks UW-Madison for this month's informative presentations, its forward-thinking spirit, and its many continued contributions to the system and to the state of Wisconsin. Thank you.
Finally, before we leave today, I want to thank you all for your candor and participation. I know we're working through difficult and serious times and issues, and I appreciate that we all bring to the table our own opinions, perspectives, and views. We come together with a common bond, and that allows us to have these frank conversations about what is best for the future of this world-class system. The common bond doesn't just apply to the business at hand. That is why I'm saddened to share with you that one of our own has suffered a great loss. Regent Pruitt's wife, Barb Candy, lost her battle to cancer early in January. In her memorial, her family noted that Barb was well respected for her political fundraising abilities, but she was so much more than that. She was a thoughtful, engaging, and caring woman, a dedicated wife and devoted mother and grandmother. She cared far less about whether a politician had a D or an R after their name, and far more about whether she liked and respected them and thought they were good at their job. I know I speak for everybody when I share with you, Chuck, that your loss is our loss, and you have our support and prayers as you, your children, and grandchildren remember fondly and celebrate her life. Are there any other petitions or memorials?